What up, book lovers? It is G-Swizz here, and you know the drill. I got books to haul. I'm filming this book haul just prior to Rare 2023. So if you guys are wondering whether or not I will be showing my Rare pre-orders slash purchases off at some point, I will, just not today. I'm also very much excited to talk about the books that I have accumulated within the last few months. Some of these are pre-orders as per usual, some of these are books from my work, and some of these are random purchases, even some random purchases from Camilo, which I'm very much looking forward to showing because I also consider them part of my collection. I mean, that's how marriage works, right? Imagine if Camilo did book hauls of my books. Imagine if Camilo had a booktube channel in general. I'm getting so distracted. I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this haul or we will be here forever. There are 60 books that I have to show you. And purely based on the fact that the manga is at the top of the stacks, I will be starting off with the manga and then moving on from there. So the first book I got to haul today is Sakamoto Days Volume 7. I love this series so much. I've talked about this series a few times. I'm so obsessed with Sakamoto Days. I would highly recommend it. I actually, this morning, I sent Camilo off with Volume 1 to work. So hopefully he will read that and he will enjoy it. He's just been trying to find another manga series to sink his teeth into after being caught up in another series, which I will mention quite soon. Highly recommend Sakamoto Days if you haven't read it yet. And another action shonen I have to hold today is Mission Yozakura Family Volume 4. I have only read Volume 1 of the series, but I really just want to continue. It's just every time I want to continue, either Spy Family gets in the way, Sakamoto Days gets in the way, or The Way of the House Husband gets in the way. Now, I personally love manga within the spy slash underground organization genre, and so I just know that I'm going to really love the series as I go on with it. It very much gives me Spy Family vibes because the love interest essentially has protective siblings, and the main character is trying to get with the love interest, but her overly protective siblings keep on getting in the way. I am very much looking forward to continuing on with this. I need to proceed because the first volume was really funny. And speaking of funny manga, I decided to pick this series up on a whim. And this series is Wotakoi. Love is Hard for Otaku. I have heard great things about this series. One day I was on Amazon and I noticed that Wotakoi was going to have a box set come out. And I pre-ordered it at a time that it was over 50% off. So this box set here is worth 250 Australian dollars. And I don't know why. I think sometime in December of last year, I saw that the pre-order price was like 117, which is just over 50% off. So I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna pre-order that, and because Amazon doesn't auto bill immediately, I just thought to myself, I'm gonna pre-order it at that price, I'm gonna secure it at that price, and if I don't want it, then I'll cancel it before getting charged. And I did not cancel it before getting charged because I thought, that's a price I'm never gonna see again. Because I kept on seeing this box set go up and up in price again. I saw that it only reached like 20% off at a certain point. I was like, yeah, getting it for over 50% off was a bargain. So I'm really happy I have this box set now. And just so you guys know, I believe that almost every single one of these volumes are bind-ups of 2 volumes. So essentially, I'm holding up what looks to be 6 volumes, but they're actually 11 volumes. I don't know, I heard that from somewhere, but I mean, the first 5 volumes are really chunky, so I would not be surprised. So I really like this box set. It's really cool. And I think I will appreciate it more after I've read it. And speaking of beautifully packaged manga, I finally have Volume 4 of Orochi. This is the 4th and final volume in the series, and for some reason, I just wanted to collect all of them so that I could binge read all of them, maybe closer toward Halloween period, because these look very creepy. I have heard great things about this classic horror series. I do want to get into some horror things where I can, just to put me in the mood for like Halloween and stuff, just to the adrenaline rush, but I'm not into super spooky scary stuff, so hopefully this doesn't creep me out too much. And next up, I have to hold 22 to 26, Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man. So this is the second short story collection from Tatsuki Fujimoto. I don't know if he's going to do like short story collections later on down the line, but what I do know is that as of recently, his short story collections have been published in these bind-ups. They've been titled Before Chainsaw Man because Chainsaw Man seems to be his most popular series at the moment. He didn't necessarily just blow up because of Chainsaw Man, he was also pretty popular with Fire Punch as well. However, Chainsaw Man has become a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, I got into Tatsuki Fujimoto's writings based on Chainsaw Man, so so that kind of does make sense. But yeah, his short story collections are being printed, and I want to read them, so I've got to get onto this ASAP. And next I have to haul Love's in Sight. This seems to be a new romance manga about a bad boy getting with a blind girl. So essentially, I believe the male protagonist is kind of like a tough nut to crack. However, the female protagonist can see that he has a softer side. And I personally really like that because it's kind of like, I don't trust anyone but you trope. I don't know. I just really like that trope. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to this one and to letting you guys know how I go with it. I need to read more romance manga because I can never have enough romance manga. And next I have to haul Boys Abyss. So this series actually came out in Japan a few years ago, and I was curious about it. I personally haven't been reading as many seinens as I used to, and I want to read more seinens, and I heard that Boys Abyss has that for me. And I recently heard from a friend that they would comp this to Goodnight Punpun, which is another series that I want to read. I just need to take the time to invest in that series. That is a series I've wanted to read for quite some time. I love myself a good dark seinen. However, sometimes they hit hard, they hit heavy, so I would not be surprised if Boys Abyss hits hard in a similar way, considering that it's been comped to Goodnight Punpun. And the final manga series I have to hold today before I get onto the novels, general books, special editions, is a manga series that Camilo fully invested himself in. It is one of his favorite manga series of all time. I don't know whether or not it's the favorite of his. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Berserk is still his favorite. However, he has been absolutely obsessed with this series, like non-stop. Like literally yesterday, as I'm talking right now, I was talking about how not invested I was in the book that I was reading to Camilo, and then funnily enough, he was like, why don't you read Hat Atelier instead? I have volumes 1 to 10 of Hat Atelier. All of them were purchased by Camilo. But, I mean, it's free real estate considering that we are husband and wife. These covers are so pretty. I actually remember when I first saw this first volume in Kinokuniya, and it immediately grabbed Camilo's attention. Camilo is an artist himself, so when he saw this beautiful cover, he was immediately intrigued. However, he was really scared about picking this series up because he just didn't want to pick a series up blindly, not knowing anything about it, and not knowing whether or not it was good. And then recently he watched a YouTube essay on manga paneling, and he fell in love with the manga paneling in that YouTube essay, and the samples of the manga paneling just so happened to be samples of Hat Atelier. And I believe based on that video essay that Camilo realized that he really wanted to read it because he also heard that the story was really good. So he purchased the first volume from Kinokuniya, and on our train ride back from the bookstore, he almost completed it. And he was like, Grace, I need the next volumes now. Then he used my Amazon Prime account. I showed him how to get the volumes straight away without having to go all the way back to the CBD to Kinokuniya. Amazon has like 1-day delivery. I decided to be like, hey, well, you can use this and you can have the rest of the volumes tomorrow. So he pretty much binge purchased the series, and now he's desperately waiting for volume 11. Camilo is obsessed with the series. This is probably his favorite thing to talk about, and he is trying to convince me to read it immediately. I have so many things on my TBR. However, I do want to get to these. I'm really excited about this because I have just seen how beautiful these covers are already. I also really love the spines and how they align. Like, that's just really cool. I can't hold these up properly. My goodness. These covers are so beautiful, and it's a fantasy manga, and I have talked about this previously. I have been wanting to get into a good fantasy manga, but I mean, isekai has kind of ruined fantasy manga for me, so I have to change that. I have to stop thinking about isekai when I think about fantasy manga. I have to get into the good fantasy manga. So hopefully I will get to Hat Atelier sometime soon. Camilo is reminding me every day that I should read it. Now, with all that manga out of the way, let's get straight into the novels that I've hauled within this period. I will be starting off with The Liar's Crown by Abigail Owen. Speaking of Camilo, he actually purchased this for me in Melbourne, and I'm so thankful that he did because I've wanted to read this for quite some time. I actually got sent a adult urban fantasy from Entangled by Abigail Owen, and I also want to read that series so bad as well. But when I saw this cover, I knew that I immediately had to have it. I don't know if you guys can see the detailing, but it looks like it has been embroidered. That's really cool. I love looking at this. Fingers crossed I will get to it sometime soon and let you guys know how I go with it. Who knows? Maybe Abigail Owen might just be one of my favorite authors. And speaking of books that I acquired in Melbourne when I was there for my anniversary trip, I purchased books 1 to 5 in Chloe Lisa's series. This book series recently got picked up by a publisher, and I told myself for the sake of spending money and, you know, just for the sake of having the thrill in Melbourne, that I wasn't going to purchase the series until I was allowed to use my Melbourne spending money, and my Melbourne spending money was strictly for Melbourne. So I literally carried these in my suitcase back to Sydney, even though I could have purchased these from a Sydney bookstore, even though I could have purchased these from Amazon. I went to Big W in Melbourne CBD and I snatched these up. I was like, you know what? They're mine here. I don't know, I just wanted a little bit of extra thrill on my vacation. So here I have Only When It's Us, Always Only You, Ever After Always, With You Forever, and finally Everything For You. I just get very excited when books get picked up by publishers for the sake of affordability, because as much as I do want to support independently published authors and I do support their decision to stay independently published, it is exciting knowing that I can purchase their books in bookstores going forward. So I'm really happy that this series got picked up by an Australian publisher and that I have them on my shelves. And another romance novel that Camilo purchased for me is End of Story by Kylie Scott. I was excited to hear that Kylie Scott was initially coming to Rare 2023, but unfortunately, since Camilo purchased this book for me, Kylie Scott has cancelled. And that is devastating because I actually really liked this romance novel and I want to read more by Kylie Scott. I was essentially very much motivated to read this in the lead up to Rare, but that is totally understandable. Everybody cancels for their own personal reasons. This all being said, I'm still very happy that I read this and enjoyed it, and overall I'm definitely very grateful that Camilo purchased it for me. And another romance novel that I've held within this period is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. I was really excited to receive this. I pre-ordered this, however I'm a little bit devastated about the way that it was packaged. And I have noticed that it has been happening with the same Australian publisher. Remember when I showed you guys the Dreamland Billionaires situation where the spines didn't match? Well, Hachette have done it again. Hachette, I don't know what is with your production controller slash print person, but I mean, this is not cool. That is not cool. I mean, unless of course the third book is going to go back to the regular pattern, I will be fine with the third book going back to this spine with the author's name at the top and with the title at the bottom, but this is not okay. If you are ever going to put a book series or a companion series out, double check the formatting of the first book cover before you press print. Sorry, I'm bitter about it. I've just noticed it has happened with the same Australian publisher and it is frustrating. Look, it could be maybe the UK team. It could be an international team that's responsible for this. But I've just noticed that in both cases with the Australian editions of the books that I've purchased from Hachette, that this has happened. Like, no shade, but please, just try next time. This is beside the point. I really love these covers, like regardless. I wish I could face them out like this because this matches at least. It looks very pretty. And I'm very much looking forward to reading something by Lucy Score because now I have 3 books by Lucy Score on my shelves and yeah, I just haven't read them. But I hear great things about her works. I hear that she's just one of those authors that romance readers are absolutely invested in. I want to be invested in Lucy Score's writing, so fingers crossed I get to these sometime soon. And the next book I have to hold today is Radiant Sin by Katie Robert. I have wanted to read the Dark Olympus series for quite some time. I'm literally just collecting these so that I can binge read them at some point. That all being said, Katie Robert is an auto-buy author for me, so I auto-bought. And the next 2 books I have to hold today are both by the same author, and that is a comfort author duo of mine, Tiffany Roberts. First of all, I have His Darkest Craving, and second of all, I have Claimed by an Alien Warrior. I have read His Darkest Craving. I love this book so much, I just wish that it was longer. However, Claimed by an Alien Warrior seems to be much thicker, probably seems to be like twice the size of His Darkest Craving, so I'm hoping that I get a much fuller story from this. However, if Claimed by an Alien Warrior is written similarly to His Darkest Craving, then I will definitely enjoy it because I loved this book so much. I just feel like it was too short, so I could not give it a 5 out of 5 stars. However, I still think about it to this day. I love the story, and I appreciate how the protagonist finds healing through it and new love that she deserves. I'm hoping that Claimed by an Alien Warrior will have similar themes, but if it doesn't, I still reckon I'm gonna have a good time with this. I just love what I've read from Tiffany Roberts so far, so I reckon I'm going to really like it. And then next off, I have a trilogy by C. and Crawford, Court of the Sea Fae trilogy. First of all, I have Dark King, Fallen King, and finally Rising Queen. I purchased these because initially the Arcane Society did this series as like their series of the month or bi-month because they do a bi-monthly book book subscription, and I love the Arcane Society's designs usually. However, I wasn't a fan of the art style for the Arcane Society editions. I didn't love the character art as much as I liked this character art for some reason. I don't know why, I just preferred this character art. Like when I first saw the Rising Queen book cover, I immediately fell in love, but I didn't love the character art for the Arcane Society editions as much. But not only that, after the artist illustrated those covers, this is not the fault of the Arcane Society whatsoever, because they found out soon afterward and they kind of warned us that they worked with this artist, but essentially the artist, from what I know, allegedly, I'm gonna say allegedly, traced a bunch of popular photos with popular figures to add them to their Throne of Glass Dust jacket set, and I think maybe bits and pieces of other art scattered around the internet. I'm not really well across this, but I think the reaction from the artist just gave me a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. So when it came down to purchasing the Arcane Society Court of the Sea Fae series, I just decided that I kind of wanted to purchase directly from the author instead. I wish that I had the naked hardbacks of that series though, because the editions without the dust jackets look beautiful. However, I just decided that I loved these covers better. So I purchased these editions, and honestly, I have no regrets. Speaking of C.N. Crawford, I also hold another series that takes place within the same universe. However, the cover style is different, but I like this cover style. And that, my friends, is the Shadow Fae Quartet. I love these covers. I am devastated that these don't come in hardbacks. However, they are just so pretty. So I'm not mad about this purchase at all. I cannot take my eyes off of these. So first of all, we have Court of Shadows. Second of all, we have Court of Darkness. Third, we have Court of Night. And then finally, we have Court of Dreams. I just keep on bragging about this cover style. But I should probably talk about how I recently read a C.N. Crawford series, The Demon Queen Trials, and I absolutely love it. I fell in love with that series. I got invested in it, and what I can say is, oh my goodness, I'm so happy I purchased a special edition set of it because the series was so good. Based on that reading experience, I'm very much looking forward to reading more by C.N. Crawford, whether it be Court of the Sea Fae or the Shadow Fae series. There are so many series I'm interested in by them, so I wouldn't be surprised if I bought so much more from them. And the next book I have to hold today is the sequel to the Gilded series by Marissa Meyer. I have Cursed. This book I have been waiting for. Gilded ended off on one of the most shocking cliffhangers. Like, I'm actually disgusted in the direction of Gilded. Like, not necessarily in the sense that I am upset at Marissa Meyer. It's just more like the villain I despise so much because the characters are in such a vulnerable state. As much as Gilded wasn't the best piece of fiction, it was a very long book, and I feel like the relationship between the two characters was a forced one. I'm still kind of rooting for them, so I decided to purchase Cursed because I wanted to complete the series. And speaking of FairyLoot editions, I also have the FairyLoot special edition of The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. I love this book so much, and I was so pleased to find out that FairyLoot were doing a special edition of it. These ombre sprayed pages look awesome, and I also very much appreciate this. This embossing looks really cool. I am so excited to continue on with this series. I hope that FairyLoot does a special edition of The Kiss Curse so everyone can have a good time. And back at it again with a FairyLoot special edition. I initially told myself that I didn't need this FairyLoot special edition, but then when I took a second look, I was like, no, I need it. And then, my friends, is the FairyLoot special edition of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is a slipcase. Check out the text there, and then over here we have EH. As I take this out of the slipcase, I see the beautiful book. This is probably the prettiest edition I've seen of the book. I mean, I do like the original covers, but when I see other special editions of Evelyn Hugo, they're not nearly this pretty. So I really love this cover. I love the foiling. I also love the sprayed pages there, and also behind here it says, never let anyone make you feel ordinary. I reckon that FairyLoot did an excellent job with this special edition. I don't know whether this one is signed or not. Oh, I also love these end pages. Yes, it has been signed by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That's really cool. I am just a big sucker for green and gold. This is just making me happy in the aesthetics department. And the next book I have to hold today is The Matchmaker by Saman Shad. I initially saw this in the bookstore. I was like, oh, that looks pretty, but I'm not gonna get it. I don't know. I should have looked at the synopsis immediately. I should have also looked at the blurb immediately because Jodi McAllister recommends it, and Jodi McAllister is one of my favorite authors ever. So the fact that Jodi McAllister endorses The Matchmaker makes me so happy. But this also takes place in Sydney, Australia, and it makes reference to the Red Rooster line, and if you live in Sydney, you know exactly what the Red Rooster line is. I mean, those were buzzwords for me. So I just knew that I had to check this Australian romance out. Cannot wait to read The Matchmaker. I can't wait to let you guys know how I go with it. I reckon I'm gonna really like it based on the fact that Jodie McAllister recommends it. And the next book I have to haul today is actually my last standard edition book I have to haul today. The rest of the books I have to haul are special editions. But this standard edition doesn't feel that standard because it's the hardback of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Now, not only does this cover look stunning, the naked hardback does as well. It's gorgeous. I don't know, I just feel like whenever I see an independently published hardback, I just have to pick it up. So I just decided in this case I was going to pick this book up in its hardback. However, I didn't just pick this hardback up for the sake of picking up a pretty hardback. I actually have a work colleague who is obsessed with The Serpent and the Wings of Night. She has been endorsing it everywhere that she goes, and I wanted to read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I still do. I still need to get to that series. I think because it's so chunky, it's just a little bit intimidating, but I need to get to it, and I want to get to it before I get to The Serpent and the Wings of Night. But I am somewhat even more motivated to get to The Daughter of No Worlds because my friend endorses Carissa Broadbent's The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This, I believe, is a duology with an extra novella. Usually I'm hesitant with duologies, but I reckon I'm gonna really love this one. I also remember the other day I was in a bookish Facebook group and someone was like begging for new vampiric romance recommendations, and literally majority of the comments were saying you need to read The Serpent and the Wings of Night because this book is so good. And every once in a while other people would comment other series, but this series just took over that post. That is also how I know that Serpent and the Wings of Night is worth trying out. So I am going to try it out eventually. I plan to get to it sometime after I read Carissa Broadbent's previous works. And the next book I have to haul today is a FairyLoot edition, and that, my friends, is the FairyLoot edition of The Stars Between Us by Kristen Terrell. I saw this holographic foiling and I just knew it had to be mine. I don't know anything about this book other than the fact that I really liked this edition of the holographic foiling. I know, dangerous. And speaking of holographic foiling, this Illumicrate edition of Song of Silver Flame Like Night also has holographic foiling, and I'm obsessed with it. This was my February Illumicrate book pick, and I'm so happy I received it because it is one of the prettiest books on my shelves. No joke. Look at that. Look at those pages. That is so gorgeous. And not only that, if I didn't like the dust jacket enough, then I could display it like this. It's just so beautiful. The detail that they put into this special edition honestly just blows me away. I also recently received some special editions of Ninth House and Hellbent by Illumicrate. Unfortunately, not as spectacular pages. However, I really appreciate the cover designs. They are so pretty. Here we have some really cool end page art, and then underneath the dust jacket we have this really cool foiling. I really like these editions. Unfortunately, they're not signed. However, I am still much more pleased with these compared to the original covers, because I wasn't going to put the original covers on my shelves. No, they just looked very bland. I just really appreciate these editions. I'm really happy that I've added them to my collection, and I hope to get to the Ninth House series sometime soon. And I also have an Illumicrate special edition of The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a completely customized cover, and we have Ren on here. She looks so beautiful. I love the design of this. I also very much appreciate the stenciled edges. This is one of my favorite colors ever, and the fact that I get to add this color to my stenciled edge shelf makes me so happy. This end page art is absolutely divine. I am so obsessed. Something I forgot to mention in my unboxing video is that Holly Black's author letter is actually in the book. And to top it all off, this design looks so gorgeous. If I did not love the dust jacket, I would display it like this. I'm just so happy I have this book, and on top of that, I love the book, so I keep winning. And the final Illumicrate special editions I have to show you guys are my Crescent City Illumicrate special editions. These don't look like the regular books. If you saw the initial post, they showed that these special editions had the original dust jacket, but I flipped them over because I love these illustrations. First of all, this is House of Earth and Blood. I love having Danica and I love having Bryce there, and I also really love the spines. I reckon that they did an excellent job with the spines, and I also really love the page stenciling here. And in my personal opinion, they look so much better in person than they did digitally, because when I saw the digital mock-up, I wasn't convinced. Also, we have some tip-in pages here. Yeah, I really like that. I wasn't too sure whether or not I should have just added these page overlays to my original editions or keep them in here, because as much as I love page overlays, sometimes they make the pages look like they're ruined, so I'm considering putting the page overlays in my other editions. But that all being said, I still really appreciate the page overlays, and I like what Illumicrate did with these editions. I also really love this cover with Bryce and Hunt, or for House of Sky and Breath. I love the spine of this one, and I also love the pages here as well. Once again, the overlays are kind of just showing. I'll see if there's an overlay I can show. Yeah, oh my goodness, this one's epic. I'm gonna show you that epic page overlay. That is so cool. I'm so obsessed with these editions, and any kind of special edition I can get my hands on from Sarah J Maas would be great. I mean, there are so many different dust jackets. I'm probably done with completing dust jackets. Beside the Juniper Books ones, I really want the Juniper Books Throne of Glass ones, but when it comes to FairyLoot and Illumicrate, I want to be part of that. And in terms of FairyLoot, the young adult book pick I recently received was City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaefer. I actually had no idea that this was a horror book. When I was first reacting to the box, I had a negative reaction to the dinosaur at the back, but you know what? I reckon that I'm gonna give this a chance. For some reason, now that I've looked into the synopsis, it's giving me Diviners vibes. So I'm a little bit more optimistic about this book as opposed to how I felt when I first unboxed the book. I just had no idea what to expect, but I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I'm going to experience some Diviners vibes. We will see, but probably not in the supernatural aspects, but there might be some paranormal activity. But yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic about this one, and I very much appreciate this beautiful edition. I'm so obsessed with it. I love the character design, and I love the aesthetics. And speaking of aesthetics, my FairyLoot adult book pick of the month was The Adventures of Amina El Sarafi. I love this book, and I would actually highly recommend the audiobook if you haven't checked it out. The audiobook narration is spot on, and it is hilarious. At times, the narrator, or I mean Amina, interrupts the story, and she will often tell people to kind of like shut up in the background. And then we'll come back to the microphone and say, anyway, so as I was saying, it's hilarious. I would also get my hands on a physical edition of this book as well, because all the covers I've seen so far have been beautiful, but the FairyLoot edition in particular is probably the best that I've seen, considering its features, like this beautiful foiled map with Amina on here, and I just also love that foiling. I love that the foiling is consistent on both sides. I love the spine beauty on both the dust jacket and the naked hardback, and I also love that the foiled map is here, and we also get to see the cat. This edition is so beautiful, and I love this book so much, so I honestly cannot wait to continue on with the series and to collect more of the books from FairyLoot. And the final FairyLoot special editions I have to haul today happens to be my Legendborn set. So these covers, they are the same, except they have some gold foiling instead of silver foiling, but it's the pages here. These pages are so beautiful. I'm just absolutely obsessed with the way that they designed this. I'm really happy that mine are aligned, because I saw that some people did not have aligned pages, and that made me devastated. I also love how here we have some really cool character art. And this naked hardback is so gorgeous, and it goes very well with the pages. I am considering just taking the dust jacket off. Like, I love the dust jackets and all that, but the design of the naked hardback with the pages looks absolutely stunning. And then I must also show you Bloodmarked. I mean, these end pages also look really cool. I love how Selwyn is now closer to Bree in this. I don't know. Yeah, these editions are just so pretty. I'm really happy I have them in my collection. And last but certainly not least, I have a LitJoy crate set. This is my first ever LitJoy crate set. I decided to get it because it was of one of my favorite series of all time, and that, my friends, is the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. That hurt. Look at this foiled case. This foiled case I am so obsessed with. I teared up when I opened my package because this set is just so beautiful. The fact that they put so much thought into this set just blows me away. So right here I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and this set actually contains annotations by Laini Taylor. And not only that, we also have some really awesome illustrations, and this is not just like on any paper, this is quality stuff. I also love the end pages, and the fact that this was also signed by one of my favorite authors of all time, it just honestly blows me away. Even though I know that a bunch of people don't really love the cover illustrations, I really don't care. I'm just really happy I have a special edition set of the series because I missed out on the Illumicrate ones, and I am devastated that I did because I wasn't a fan of the series at the time those went on sale. And I also have to show off Days of Blood and Starlight. I don't love this cover as much because I don't like the guy on it. However, I still very much appreciate this edition. Once again, we have some annotations. I think that's actually a letter from the author, which is really cool. We have some really cool art inside. I'll see if I can find something without like fully spoiling the book in general. Yeah, I'll just show you like a really cool battle scene that's really cool. Then finally, I have the finale, Dreams of Gods and Monsters. I love this cover. This is probably my favorite cover in the series. So majestic. I'm in love. Once again, we have some really cool end page art there. And yes, once again, we definitely have some illustrations throughout the book. I am so impressed by the special edition set. I am devastated that I did not get the LitJoy crate Strange the Dreamer set. I really wanted that set, but I could not afford it at the time, and now I am forever in regret because this is so beautiful and I would have wanted matching editions, but that is okay. I love this series regardless. I think this series is probably my favorite out of the two now, and I just really love this illustration of Akiva and Karu. Overall, I am very much satisfied with this purchase. As soon as you walk through my door, this set is on display. It's one of my prized possessions. I will forever treasure it. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the book stack emoji because we do that for book hauls here. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Joined the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at @GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at @GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.